Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap. We all know that previous year questions play a very important role with respect to the preparation of any competitive exam, including RBI Grade B. They help you to know the trend, they help you to know the pattern with respect to the examination. So as a part of this session, we are going to discuss the 2023 RBI Grade B Finance and Management paper. Now, but before we do that, let me just tell you a very important information that EduTap is providing you a free course, and as you can see it as a part of this banner over here, that as a part of this free course you would be getting some demo lectures, you would be getting free strategy that how you can go about this exam. All these things are included as a part of this, and it will help you to know that how the actual course of RBI Grade B that is offered by EduTap looks like. Fine. So I hope it is clear to you. Now let us begin with the video. This video has been recorded by Jalad sir, and I give you a small introduction with respect to that. So please enjoy the video.
Right? Yes, before we move ahead, first I would like to give you one disclaimer that we have tried our the best to keep the exact paper which was asked in the RBI Grade B 2023 exam. Okay, 90 to 95% of the paper is exactly word by word same, but I would say 5%, that particular offsetting is allowed from your end. So 90 to 95% of the paper is same. 5% of discrepancies, I would say, is allowed as per the human context. Okay, now let's start our discussion on the objective questions first. First, I will be taking out what? First, I will be taking out the 1 markers. So let's go on understanding each and every topic, each and every question, and let's try to have a good debate about it. Question number 1. First, the NAV bit. It is asked from the chapter financial institutions. Okay, and I hope you remember NAVBID was added in the 2023 syllabus recently only. The question says the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development Bill of 2021 was introduced in Lok Sabha in the March 2022-2021. The bill seeks to establish National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development as a principal development financial institution for dash sector. So it's like a fill in the blank question. The chapter associated to this question is financial institution. I would rate this question as very easy, not even easy, because in our live classes, in our course, we have covered this topic like multiple times. And I also hope that you know NAVBID is the fifth All India financial institution, which we also called as development financial institution. So NAVBID is fifth in the race. Like we have NABARD, which looks after agriculture and rural development. We have your SIDBI, which looks after your MSME sector. We have your Exim Bank, which looks after export and imports. And then we have your NHB, which looks after your housing sector needs. In the same manner, now we have NAVBID as well. NAVBID stands for what? National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development. So NAVBID is looking after which sector? It is your infrastructure sector. Even if you have read the full form of NAVBID, then also you could have attempted it. In our course, in our live classes, we have covered multiple things. But the RBI, again, it is a very basic question which RBI has asked. So first question according to me is very easy. It's like a cakewalk question. Second question, which of the following from the following details calculate return to asset ratio? So here you are required to calculate a very peculiar ratio, which is return to asset. Now to calculate this ratio, they have given you income of 100 lakh and asset is given to you as 500 lakh. Okay, so they have given you income 100 lakh and assets of 500 lakh. Now to calculate return to asset ratio, you just have to apply one simple formula which we have discussed multiple times in your course as well as in your live classes. What is that formula? Income divided by your assets into 100. Why 100? Because we have to get the percentage figures, because all the options are given in percentage. So all you need to do is 1 divided by 5, right? Because income is given to you as 100 lakh. These two double zeros will get cancelled out. So 1 by 5 is nothing. It is just 20%. Again, this chapter is your ratios, which is again a very easy chapter if you do the basic components. Again, this particular question, according to me, it is very easy. Even if you have just known the formula, then directly you could have deduced the answer. Okay, so currently both the questions of question 1 and question 2, they are very easy according to me. One could have solved them under 20 seconds if their concepts are clear. Okay, coming to question number 3. Question number 3 says, as per Ocean model, if a person is organized, self-disciplined, and he or she is achievement-oriented, then which of the following personality traits can be associated to him or her? Now, to my surprise, if you see, this is the 2023 paper. If you go back and see the solution video of 2022, on the same themes, on the same lines, the exact question was formed in 2022 as well. So this is how previous year questions become important. Okay, they have asked the same question in 2023 as well. Now, if you know Ocean model, this particular topic has been from your management, and there is a chapter which is personality and perception. Again, if you understand what is Ocean model, which is a big 5 personality model, this question is again a cakewalk for you, and I would rate this question as easy only. If a person is organized, self-disciplined, and he is achievement oriented, then he is a following the personality trait of consciousness. Now you can have your own pronunciations to it, but it is an easy question according to me. Nothing much to worry about. In Ocean model, hardly 5 traits are there: openness, consciousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticisms. Okay, so it is a very easy question, nothing much to fuss about. Again, a cakewalk question if your concepts are clear. Okay, and this also can be solved under less than 20 seconds. Question number 4. In the field of management, Dash describes the difference between true and exposed emotion. So here you have to identify the concept which explains you the difference between true and exposed emotions. Now, see, this particular question has been asked from your emotional intelligence chapter, which is again a very easy chapter. See, there is a list of 3 to 4 chapters like which are very easy. Starting from fundamentals of OB, that is organizational behavior, organizational conflict, organizational change, personality and perception. They are like very easy chapter. And last among them is EI, that is an emotional intelligence. They all the 5 chapters, starting from fundamentals of OB, emotional intelligence, organizational change, organizational conflict. All these chapters are comparatively very easy. Okay, so if any questions comes from all these different listed chapters, then it is a cakewalk question if your concepts are clear. In the same manner, question number 4, according to me, it is a moderate question. Okay, now why I am terming this question as moderate? Because the options which are given to you, they are like very closely related. They are not like discrete. You need to have a greater conceptual clarity to answer this. Okay. If you see in the field of management, Dash describes the difference between true and exposed emotion, your answer will be emotional dissonance. Emotional dissonance is that particular concept which says that yes, there is a difference between true emotions and exposed emotions. True emotions are those emotions which you are having inside you. Exposed emotions which you are showing to the different public. Okay, the answer cannot be emotional intelligence over here. Why emotional intelligence cannot be the answer? Because emotional intelligence is your ability to handle your emotions. It is not the difference between true and exposed emotion. It is how well you perceive your emotions. That is your emotional intelligence. Okay, perception defense, nothing of this sort is mentioned in your question. Perception is totally a different concept. Okay, cognitive dissonance is related to your mind. Okay, so nothing again is mentioned over here regarding the mind aspect. Emotional management is a component of your emotional intelligence only. How you manage your emotions, that is what emotional intelligence is all about. If you see, option D is the correct answer of this particular question, and because of a quite complex set of options, this question is a moderate level according to me. Okay, but again, if you have the good concept understanding, this will become cakewalk if you have the good conceptual understanding. Okay, now moving ahead to question number 5. Which of the following theory of ethics focuses on the consequences of greater good and evil? Now see, ethics is that particular chapter which is like quite alien to all those students who are not having any UPSC background, right? And I hope you agree with me. Now, this particular question which they have asked from ethics is like a very basic, very superficial question. They have not gone deep into the subject of ethics. So that is a kind of a very good news for all those students who are coming from non-UPSC background. Okay. So which of the following theory of ethics focuses on the consequences of greater good and evil? If your conceptual concepts are clear, then you could have marked this answer as teleological theory of ethics. Okay, because teleological theory of ethics says that if my consequences are good, that is my end results are good, then that particular action is viable. If it is not good, then they are not viable. Okay, so this is a very basic theory, and if you see, deontological ethics has to do with your duty, virtue ethics has to do with your professions, right? So this is again a very easy set of options which is given to you. Justice, ethics, justice theory, like again, this is not mentioned in your syllabus as well, so do not do this. But theological theory is the correct answer because it is related to the greater good and evil. Okay, so question number 5 according to me is taken from your subject ethics, and it is an easy question, if not very easy. Okay, it is an easy question, I would say. Okay, if it is not a very easy question, if it is an easy question according to me, I hope you agree with me. So till now, if you see in the set of first 5 questions, except question 4, all are doable, all are very easy or max to max easy. Cool. Now coming to question number 6. Generally, in the principle, dash is the principle which focuses on the kind of value which displaces concerns for others. What is the keyword? Concerns for other. Now this is also taken from your subject of ethics. Again, this is also very easy or easy according to me. If you see, the answer will be care. Care is what? That you show a kind of a loving attitude towards your parents, towards your friend, or towards your different relatives, right? So this is what your care is all about. Okay, so care is regarding the concerns of another. Now even if you don't have any prior knowledge of ethics, you could have done this with your, I would say, calculated risk. Okay, or you could have done this with your logical mind as well. So till now, the questions which have appeared from the ethics chapter, they are very easy or easy according to me, and you could have solved both of these questions easily under less than 20 seconds or not more than 30 seconds. Okay, now I am coming to question number 7. Question number 7 talks regarding the liberalized remittances scheme, which is one of the famous schemes which we also call as at LRS, that is our liberalized remittances scheme. All the resident individuals, including minors, and allowed to freely remit up to an amount of per financial year, April, March, for any permissible current and capital account transactions or a combination of both. Now, in my live classes and even Kritika ma'am YouTube lectures, you can see that the concept of liberalized remittances scheme was discussed multiple times. Okay, what will be your answer over here? Will it be 2,50,000 rupees or will it be $2,50,000? It will be 2,50,000 USD. So answer will be option B. Again, this chapter is your forex. Okay, again a very easy question because we have covered this multiple times. We have also covered section of FEMA, that is section 10 of FEMA, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act, which empowers RBI to take certain, I would say, foreign exchange related transactions. Okay, we have discussed this multiple times. Believe me, I'm not going to say this multiple times again. Liberalized remittances schemes were discussed at a very good length and breadth. Okay, coming to question number 8. In the field of finance, which of the following is an example of alternative sources of finance? Again, if you see overdraft credit, G-Secs, bonds, bank loan, and forfeiting, I hope you would have marked your answer as E. Again, this chapter is your, this particular question is from your finance component, directly asked from the chapter alternative sources of finance. I hope you agree with me, and this question is also easy according to me. In your chapter of alternative sources of finance, we have discussed very important sources of finance, like we have leasing. I hope you agree, leasing. Crowdfunding is one, peer-to-peer funding. Then we also have factoring, forfeiting. So they have just asked you very one basic question that you have to select the odd one out kind of thing. Okay, so even if you understand the basics of alternative sources of finance, you could have easily marked your answer as forfeiting. So this question according to me is easy only. Okay, so if you see up to question number 8, except question number 4, all were like very easy to easy level, not even to moderate. Question number 9. In the general context, which of the following is a type of non-tax revenue? So here you have to identify non-tax revenue, mind you. Now see, non-tax revenue. So again, if you have basic concepts clear regarding your fiscal policy, which is discussed in your just a minute, if it is discussed in your ESI course, then this particular question is also easy according to me. Why it is easy? Because just see the options which are given in the test, right? You have GST. GST is a kind of an indirect tax. I hope you agree with me. So it cannot be your answer. Custom duty. Again, it is a kind of a tax only. So it cannot be your answer. Interest. Interest is would be the probable answer, but I will have to see the other two options also. None of the above will not be correct. Production duties. Again, this is a kind of a all duties max to max to an extent are a kind of tax only. So D cannot be the right answer. Only option C is correct because interest is that kind of non-tax revenue which the government of India takes from us. Okay, again a very easy question, or I would say a kind of an easy question only, directly taken from your finance chapter of union budget. Okay, we have a different chapter of union budget which is already uploaded in your course as well. Okay, my friends, now coming to question number 10. Now here is one very I would say case study based kind of thing. Ramesh lent rupees 25,000 to Suresh for 3 months. Okay, so I am assuming Ramesh as A over here, and I am assuming Suresh to be as a B, just to set the case very easy, because Ramesh, Suresh and Rajesh, these are like tongue twister kind of thing for me. So Ramesh lent rupees 25,000 to Suresh for 3 months. Okay, this I get. After 3 months, Ramesh had to pay rupees 25,000 to Rajesh. So there is an entry of third party which is C, which is Rajesh according to me. So he underwrote an instrument obligating Suresh to pay a rupees of 25,000 directly to Rajesh. So now party P has to pay directly an amount of rupees 25,000 to Rajesh. Party B over here is Suresh. Party C is Rajesh. So do not get confused over here. Basically, party A is saying that you have party A is giving an order to party B that you have to pay rupees 25,000 directly to one party, which is party C. This is the overall case over here. What kind of negotiable instrument they will use? Okay, so first I will see line of credit. See, line of credit is used in for your import and export kind of thing. Nothing of import and export is happening over here. So line of credit will not be your answer. Promissory note can also, okay, promissory note is also not the correct answer because it has to mention the word promise over here. Okay, promissory note is a kind of a promise which is given from a one party to another. That is also not mentioned. Bill of exchange would be the right answer over here. Why? Because he underwrote an instrument obling. Obling means a kind of a, I would say, unconditional order is given. Okay, so that is only followed in the bills of exchange. Commercial paper cannot be your right answer because it is a kind of a debt instrument, or you can say a money market instrument. Bill of lading, again, it is used in your import and export businesses of your shipping. If you are sending goods from India to US via waterways, then you need a bill of lading. So even if you apply your logical mind, even if you go to the elimination technique, you could have arrived at the right answer, that is bill of exchange. Okay. Now bill of exchange is a kind of a commerce concept. It is not like a core finance concept. It is generally discussed in commerce and accounts. Again, this according to this question is taken from alternative sources of finance only, and this is a moderate level question. It is not tough. It is definitely doable via multiple techniques. Those who are coming from commerce, for them this particular question would be easy in nature, but those who are coming from non-commerce background, for them it is a kind of a moderate question. So if I do a complete analysis of one marker questions in your exam, there are 10 one marker questions. Except question 4 and question 10, all the other 8 questions were easily doable. They were not even in the moderate scale. They were very easy to easy level. Okay, I hope you agree with me. 2 questions were like quite moderate level, which we have discussed right now. Now we are coming to the 2 markers. Chalo. Now we are going to solve question number 11 to 15. Read the following paragraph and answer the question that follows. Now I am reading the paragraph on a very basic level. Indian government is committed to providing a financial inclusiveness and support the marginalized and hitherto the social economic neglected class. Financial inclusion is a national priority of the government. Okay, so I'm not reading the whole thing because I came to know that the paragraph is regarding financial inclusion, and nothing of much sort is mentioned in paragraph 1. But paragraph 1 is doing a kind of a blah blah thing over here, you can say, in financial inclusion. Second paragraph, in the same regard, one such DAT scheme to promote financial inclusion was launched by the government on 15th August 2014, which is one of the biggest financial inclusion initiatives. Now in second paragraph, they have given you what? A kind of a fill in the blank. Now we will have to read the associated question to it, then only we can understood what this particular blank is talking about. Moving forward, in order to create an inclusive universal social security of for all Indians, especially the poor and unprivileged, three Ambition Jan Suraksha Social Suraksha schemes were introduced. Okay, the schemes were launched on 9th May 2015 for providing a life accident insurance, which is Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Jeevan Jyoti and Atal Pension Yojana. Okay, so I can see the whole paragraph is talking regarding financial inclusion. This we have to first bring into our memory. That whole paragraph is talking regarding what? Financial inclusion. I hope you agree with me. Okay, now let's solve question number 11. Read the above passage carefully that we have done. Identify X scheme which was launched by Government of India on 15th of August 2014. Now, this is a very big scheme, that is your national mission of financial inclusion, which is also known as your Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. So therefore, the answer will be option B of question number 11. Now, I hope you remember Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. This thing we have discussed multiple times in our lectures of live classes. We have discussed the insurance limit, we have discussed the overdraft limit, we have discussed n numbers of things regarding Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, because it is one of the flagship initiatives taken by Government of India to promote financial inclusion. I hope you agree with me on this point. So this question is also, according to me, it is based on current affairs. You can definitely say that, but it is easy because strategy on Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is like a very big scheme. It's not like a small scheme. It's like a very big scheme. So you need to cover important schemes like Pradhan Mantri schemes which are falling under the Ministry of Finance, schemes which are falling under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, schemes which are falling under Ministry of Education. So those are like big ministries. Agriculture, Panchayati Raj. So you have to cover them. You can leave the schemes of Ministry of Defense. You can leave the schemes of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That those are not related to RBI syllabus, right? But when it comes to the Ministry of Finance, you will find National Pension Scheme. You will find Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, Atal Pension Yojana, Suraksha Bima Yojana, and so on. Now, all these schemes were based on your current affairs knowledge only. If you have read the schemes document provided by us, then this question is easy according to me. Coming to question number 12, what is the insurance limit under Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana? Now, if you are updated with current affairs, recently all these three schemes, that is Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Suraksha Bima Yojana and Atal Pension Yojana, they all have completed 8 years of their operation. So therefore RBI just picked that particular news and they formed questions based on it. This is how RBI plays with the current affairs. I hope you agree with me. Now, what is the insurance limit under Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana? The answer will be 2 lakh. It is a fact-based question directly taken from your chapter Financial Inclusion. And yes, schemes things are covered in our course in a best manner as possible. Question number 13. With regards to the above mentioned passage, what is the age limit to join? Now, age limit means the maximum age to join Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana. The answer will be 50 years because it is again been a fact-based question asked from your chapter Financial Inclusion. Again, I would say 12 and 13 also are easy provided that you have the information with yourself. Okay, if you do not have the information, definitely these questions will become tough for you. But speaking on a very basic level, these questions are easy. With regards to the above mentioned passage, what is the maximum pension received under Atal Pension Yojana? Atal Pension Yojana launched in the year 2015 under the ambit of Ministry of Finance. If I'm not wrong, 1000, that is 1k, to maximum 5k. That is 1000 से लेके 5000 तक pension you can receive over here. Now they are asking you the maximum pension. Therefore, the answer will be 5000. Okay, pension is receivable under Atal Pension Yojana. And I also hope that you know that it is working only for unorganized sectors. Okay, so question number 14 is also easy according to me if you have the basic knowledge. Question number 15. With regards to the above mentioned passage, what is the premium paid under Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana? So here you have to identify the premium paid under Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana was in news because recently the premium involved under Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana and Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana was increased. So under Suraksha Bima Yojana, the new updated answer is rupees 20. Earlier the premium was rupees 12, but now it is updated to rupees 20. So this is purely based on your current affairs knowledge only. So all the 5 questions which are asked from this chapter, that is financial inclusion, are comparatively easy. They are not tough. They are not even moderate level according to me. Okay, now we are moving to question number 16. Now, question number 16, 17, and 18 are based on this paragraph. Motivation is the driving force that compels individual to act and pursue goals. So I can see this particular paragraph is talking regarding motivation. Two eminent contributors to the field of motivation are Abraham Maslow and David McClelland. They have identified specific workplace motivational needs. In this context, David McClelland proposed dash motivation elements while Maslow presented hierarchical structure of need pyramid. Okay, the seminal work done has significant advance in the underlying of human motivation in organizational settings. Now, this is a recreated paragraph, my friends. This is why I was saying 5% of deviation. I hope you will allow us. Okay, now paragraph is very easy to understand, no rocket science. First paragraph talks regarding basic structure of motivation. The second paragraph introduce you towards the Maslow and David McClelland. In your course, we have motivation part 1 and part 2. Motivation part 1 discusses regarding your content theory, starting from Maslow to William Mucci theory Z. Okay, so those all theories are important. You have to cover them word by word or theme by theme, if not word by word. Okay, now let's solve question number 16. With regards to the above mentioned passage, identify X. You have to identify X from the following options. So basically you have to read this particular thing over here, that you have to specify workplace motivation needs. In this contents, David McClelland proposed dash elements while Maslow presented hierarchy. So if you see, David McClelland has proposed three elements which motivates a person. Those are needs of achievement, those are needs of appreciation, and need of power. So again, David McClelland, even if you don't know what need of achievement talks about, you could have answered this particular question. Okay, again a very easy level question, nothing much to worry about. They are very easy, directly taken from your motivation part 1, which is already uploaded and updated in your course. Question number 17. With regards to the above mentioned paragraph, if an employee is currently at basic psychological needs, then what will be the highest level as per Maslow motivational theory? Now, I hope you know that Maslow has given a need pyramid in which we have 5 types of need. Maslow has given a need hierarchy, right, in which we have 5 types of need. So first we start with basic psychological needs, then we move to what? Then we move to your safety or security needs, then we move to your love and belongingness, then we move to esteem, and at last we move to self-actualization. The question is very clear. What is the highest level? Then your answer will be self-actualization. Okay, so your answer will be of this question will be self-actualization, directly taken from your motivation chapter. It's an easy question according to me. Okay, coming to question number 18. Manager perception of employees can vary significant. Some may view certain employees as lazy and disliking work, while others may perceive as enthusiastic and enjoying their job. Identify the theory of motivation which explains such different managers' perception of employees. So question number 18 is directly telling you regarding theory X and theory Y, which was given by Douglas McGregor. Again, if you see theory X and theory Y do not has any mention in your RBI grade B syllabus, but this year RBI has shown that they can ask certain related topics which are not mentioned in your syllabus as well. So again, you have to understand that syllabus of RBI is indicative in nature, it is not exhaustive. So you have to trust EduTap course and you have to cover each and everything which we have mentioned in your course, because it's the demand of this exam. Again, if you have covered theory X and theory Y, you could have easily attempted this question in the less than 30 seconds at max to max, right? This question is taken from your motivation. Again, I would rate this question as easy only, not even too moderate. Okay. So all the 3 questions which have been asked on motivation, they are easy, they are not tough, they are not even moderate according to me. Okay. Now I am starting with question number 19. Now, paragraph talks regarding leadership because leadership is the first word which I see. Leadership is the process of guiding and influencing individuals or a group to achieve shared goals. Okay, I can see that again a kind of a blah blah thing is coming over here. Okay, they have defined leadership. In the second paragraph, Kurt Lewin, a psychologist, has made significant contribution to the study of leadership, though his research on group dynamics and social dialogue. Through his research on group dynamics and social psychology. So here they have mentioned regarding the Kurt Lewin. Okay, we will see if there is any question or not. So question number 19. With regards to the above mentioned passage, which of the following are the three leadership styles introduced by Kurt Lewin? Now, Kurt Lewin is a very famous name in the field of management. If you see, you will find his name in the chapter Organization Change as well. He has given one very, very big theory of organization change, which is three-step theory of organization change. Okay. In leadership also, he has made some contributions. He has given you three very basic leadership styles. What are those? Autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. Very basic question. Very, I would say, cakewalk type of question. Even a student who is coming from +1 or +2 from CBSEs, they could have answered this question. The answer will be autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. Okay. So question number 19, taken from your chapter Leadership Part 1. It is an easy question according to me, nothing much to worry about. Question number 20. There are multiple leadership styles which a leader can follow. Okay, in the same regard, which of the following is an example of contingency theory of leadership? So here they are asking you that which is an example of contingency. Contingency is also known as what? Situational leadership style. Now in your course, we have defined multiple leadership theories in different categories. We have your trait-based leadership theory, we have your functional leadership theory, we have your behavior leadership theory, contingency theories, and whatnot. So they have asked you a question very basic on this, that what is the contingency theory of leadership. If you see the options, Fred Fiedler theory and Robert House path goal theory, they both are your contingency theory of leadership. Therefore, the correct answer will be both option A and B. So the correct answer will be option D. Blake and Mountain managerial grid. It is an example of, if I'm not wrong, behavioral leadership styles, or you can say it is not an example of contingency theory. Therefore, the answer will be option D. And again, this question has been taken from your leadership part 2. It is an easy level question. Okay, not much to worry about because they have not went too deep. They have asked you one very basic question, which is which of the following is an example. So even if you just remember the basic head, even if you remember the basic idea, you could have answered this question. Okay. Now I am coming to question number 21 to 25. Read the following paragraph and you have to answer the question that follows. Now, I am starting with this particular topic with you. A discussion paper. Now, a discussion paper, Governance in Commercial Banks in India, was issued by Reserve Bank on June 11, 2021 to review the framework of governance in commercial bank. Now, this thing introduced me that yes, I am talking regarding governance in commercial bank. Now, this is how you have to set an idea about the passage and feed it to your mind. Like in all the other passage, we have first identify what is the main theme, right? Like it is motivation, it is leadership, whether it is financial inclusion. So this is how you have to decode a paragraph. That first decode the main theme of that paragraph, and that can be done with the very first few lines only. Okay, or at max you have to read the first paragraph. In order to address the few operative research through such feedback, it has been decided to issue instructions with the chair and meeting of the boards. Okay, composition of certain committees of the board, so on and so forth. So now I am very much sure that if you have covered the course, then this particular topic is talking regarding what? Corporate governance in banking sector. Agreed or not, that this particular paragraph is talking regarding governance in commercial bank. So I can understand that yes, RBI is now moving towards corporate governance in banking sector. If you read the entire paragraph, the paragraph talks regarding one fill in the blank also, that in the absence of the chair of board, the meeting shall be chaired by an independent director. The quorum of the board meeting shall be dash in the total strength of the board. Okay, that we have seen. This we will address once the question associated to it comes. Moreover, banks are required to form audit committee and risk management committee too. So again, paragraph is introducing you towards audit committee and risk management committee. And then in the last paragraph, the applicability of this particular overall notification is given, like it is applicable to small finance banks and private banks and not so, and moreover, and to even wholly owned subsidiaries of foreign banks as well. So this is the application part. Now this is a very good paragraph. First they have introduced the concept, then they have given you one fill in the blank, then they have introduced two committees, and then they are introduced the applicability. So they have discussed multiple points. Now we will see the questions. Chalo. Again, this is a recreated paragraph. It is not the exact one. We are trying to keep the same. Question number 21. Which part of the banking is being addressed by RBI in the above mentioned passage. So which part of banking is being addressed? So I hope you remember it is corporate governance. In which sector? In the banking sector. So answer will be corporate governance. Even if you don't know anything regarding corporate governance, then too you could have marked your answer when you have read this particular line, which is governance in commercial banks. So according to me, this particular topic is your corporate governance in banking sector. This question, specifically to question 21, this could have been solved with your logical understanding. So this is easy question according to me. I would have attempted this question. Question number 22. With regards to the above mentioned passage, the audit committee, now the question is going deep into the audit committee. The audit committee of the board shall be constituted with dash. So audit committee shall be constituted with only non-executive directors, which is your NEDs. That is the correct answer. Now, if you don't know anything regarding audit committee, then sorry, you could not attempt this question. Therefore, I am keeping this particular question as moderate. But if you know basics of audit committee, then you could have answered this question. So this is what the overall theme is. If you remember something, RBI is asking basics from that something. They are not asking anything tough. They are not asking anything which is out of the world. If you remember the concept, they are asking the basics of concept only. Question number 23 is moderate according to me. Ask from your chapter corporate governance only. Question 23. With regards to the above mentioned passage under risk management committee of board, the board shall constitute a risk management committee with majorities of NEDs. Okay, the risk management committee shall meet with the quorum of 3 members. The meetings of risk management committee shall be chaired by an independent director. Again, if you know something regarding risk management committee, then only you can attempt this question. If you don't know anything regarding risk management, then you have to move ahead and skip this question. So I will also keep this question as a moderate scale question. This was not easy or very easy according to me. This was a moderate scale question. Question number 24, identify with regard to the above mentioned paragraph, you have to identify X. If you go above and you will find the quorum of the board meeting shall be dash of the total strength. So the answer here will be 1/3, that is 33%. Therefore, the answer over here will be option B. Okay, so B is the correct answer of question number 24. So if again you know what is the quorum of the meeting, then only you could have attempted this question. So I will keep this question as moderate level because these things are directly mentioned in your concept notes and your videos as well. So if you pay close attention to them, then you could have attempted these questions. Now I'm not terming them as tough because they are doable. Tough is something which is not doable at all. Okay, many people have attempted these questions and maximum of them are going right because they have focused on the concept notes. Question number 25. The chair and the board may be the member of risk management committee only if he or she has the requisite expertise. So here risk management committee is developed. So the answer will be risk management expertise only. Again, you have to take certain calculated risk, and this is an epitome of that particular question where you can take a calculated risk. Right, my friends? So this is a very easy questions, my friend. Okay, you could have attempted this question if you apply your whole brain on that particular question, and you have to invest your time over here. You have to save your time in certain easy questions. Okay, so the answer will be risk management expertise. Okay, so if you see the question set on corporate governance on 21 to 25, 2 questions were like doable, 3 questions were moderate from this particular set. Okay, I hope you agree with me. Now I'm coming to communication. That is question number 26-28. Rohan's career journey was full of changes, trying out different roles. However, poor communication always held him back. Now, this is what I said the theme. That is, this particular paragraph is talking regarding communication. Okay, communication says what? Okay, communication via what? Communication via what? Why, my friends? Because the communication is a central theme of this particular passage. Okay, so communication. Rohan's career journey was full of changes, trying out different roles. However, poor communication always held him back. Despite his skills, he felt the need to conquer his obstacle for true success. Like Rohan, many people also faces barriers of communication. Now, this introduced me to a second theme, that under communication, this question is targeting what? This question is targeting barriers to communication. That becomes my sub theme. Okay. Now, there are some barriers which are given to you. Barrier A, barrier B, C and D. Barrier A talks regarding misunderstanding due to translation error. Barrier B talks regarding lack in confidence of subordinate. Barrier C talks regarding rules and regulation, and barrier D, that is the point number D, talks regarding the lack of time due to preoccupied mind. Okay, I have read all of them. Okay, now lastly, Rohan can improve communication skills through several steps. Firstly, he should be actively listening to others for opening feedback and practicing clear and concise expressions. Okay, so the overall passage theme is very much clear in my mind. Communication, what is the subtopic? Barriers of communication. Okay, now let's try to address question number 26. With regards to the above mentioned passage, which of the following is an example of personal barrier of communication? Now, personal barrier. Now, I hope you remember that there are 4 different categories of barriers of communication. First is your organizational behavior or organizational barriers. Then you have your personal barriers. Then you have your semantic barriers. Then you have your psychological, or you also call them as emotional barriers. So they are the 4 categories of barriers which we have discussed point by point in your concept notes as well. Now, if you see question number 26, the question says which of the following is an example of personal barrier? कौन सा example है personal barrier का? So you have to read all these different points over here. That is option A, B, C, D. If you see misunderstanding due to translation error, this is an example of semantic barrier. So this is not an example of personal barrier, mind you. Okay. Lack of confidence of subordinates to communicate and give feedback to superior. This is an example of personal barrier. Why? Because it is related to the personal attribute of the subordinate. Okay, so this is an example of your personal barrier. Question C, statement C, rules and regulation hindering the communication and complexity in organizational structure. Now this is specifically not a personal barrier because it is a kind of an organizational barrier. Lack of time, yes, lack of time due to preoccupied mind. This is an example of your, I would say, personal barrier. So both B and D, the correct answer should be option E over here, and that is why I would rate this question as moderate, because you have to do certain logical delusions before coming to the correct answers. Okay, so question number 26 is moderate, but I hope you understand the logic which I am using to answer this question. Question number 27. Identify the barrier of communication where the person, sender or receiver, is unable to translate the message in a required manner. So here the key theme is unable to translate. Very easy. Those are your semantic barriers. Why? Because semantic barriers deals with your understanding of the language. They deals with what? They deals with also the understanding of the science behind the language. Okay. Jargons, all the technical words are an example of semantic barriers only. Now this question is moderate, but this question is easy according to me. Okay, you could have solved this question. Which of the following is an example of non-verbal communication? That is question number 28 for you. Now if you remember, there are verbal communication and there is non-verbal communication, okay, which falls under the category of different types of communication, right? If you see what is non-verbal communication, in that particular type of communication you do not use any words. Okay, in writing letter I do use words, memos also I do use words, in body language I do not use any word, therefore answer will be option C. So if you see, this question is also easy. All these 3 questions have been asked from your communication chapter except question number 26. All the other questions asked from communication are easy, and you could have solved these 2 questions and invest certain time in question 26. No question up to question 28 is undoable. All the questions are doable according to me. I hope you agree with me. Now I am coming to question number 29. Now see, this question talks to you regarding power. Power is the capacity to exert authority, influence decision and direct actions, command resource, and often taken to attain specified objectives or maintain control. Now this question is from your power, that is discussed in your journal management part 3. Again my friend, nothing of topic power is mentioned in your RBI grade B syllabus. Again I will say that is an indicative kind of thing. Our course is an exhaustive thing, I agree, but that is the best source because power is not mentioned in the syllabus of RBI, but here we are seeing that RBI is asking questions of power, so you have to cover each and everything which is mentioned in your course. Okay, on a very basic level. I am not saying that you have to cover each and everything word by word, but at least cover from a basic level. Okay. Now, if you see the question further says Raven has identified different bases of power into two categories. So there is a Professor Raven and Professor French and Raven. They have introduced 5 kinds of power in different categories. They have introduced one positional power, and then they have introduced personal powers. Now, if you know the concept of powers, what are different categories of power, your answer would be option A only, because positional powers are example of your reward, coercive and legitimate, and personal power can be knowledge and referent. Now, my friends, exact question was discussed in your live classes as well. I can show you the proof, but I am not allowed to show it right now. But if you see the live classes content, we have covered this particular question as well. Don't worry, it is also discussed in your journal management part 3. Okay. Again, you have to trust us. There is no other remedy available. Question number 30. Identify the theory of corporate governance. Now, this is a corporate governance, but mind you, there are 2 chapters related to corporate governance in your course. First is entirely dedicated to corporate governance, which is uploaded in your management section. Then we have corporate governance in banking sector, that talks regarding corporate governance in which sector? Banking. That is related in your, that is uploaded in your finance section. Okay. Now, this question is entirely related to management. Okay. That is corporate governance. This is not from banking sector, which is based on the perception that cooperation is an effective function to forge a number of relationships with different people and institutions. Simply, this is a topic of theories of corporate governance. There are different theories like stakeholder theory, steward theory, agency theory. If you remember the stakeholder theory says this only, that the organization has to make certain kinds of relationships. With whom? With all the related parties, be it the government, be it the supplier, be it the consumer, be it the employees. Okay. So therefore the correct answer will be option B, that is your stakeholder theory. So this is the end of the objective part. If you see, out of 30 questions, I would say only 5 questions are of moderate scale. Rest all the 25 questions are easy to very easy kind of thing. Okay. But I would have said that if you have covered concepts in a very well manner, then this whole paper, according to me, is easy to moderate. Okay. I hope you agree with me. Now I'm starting with my analysis of descriptive writing. Okay, as you know, there are 6 questions which appear in descriptive, but you only have to attempt 4. First, I will discuss the 400 word or the 10 marker question. Then I will discuss the 15 marker question. Question 1 is related to what is open network for digital commerce, how it will beat the other e-commerce giant like Amazon or Flipkart. Open network for digital commerce. This is a news which was very much covered in our course, in our PIB sessions, in our Kritika's ma'am classes as well. Okay, because she takes certain finance in news sessions, right? So ONDC was discussed multiple times over there. Now this is a current affairs based question, and we always say that in finance, definitely you have to give due importance to the current affairs side. Okay, so you can see this question is based on current affairs. Question 2, what is the code of conduct, how it is implemented in the organization? Now this is management. In management there is no current affairs, so they have asked one question directly from the chapter ethics, and they have touched the static part of it, that they have asked you what is code of conduct and how you will implement it. I would again say this is not related to current affairs, and this level of question, according to me, it is moderate. All the questions in descriptive are moderate because you have to think and write. Okay, there is not a fluke which can happen in descriptive. Fluke can happen only by fluke I mean that tukka thing. Okay, that can only happen in your objective part, but it will not happen in your descriptive part, right? Question number 3, RBI has allowed pre-sanctioned credit lines via UPI. How it is a step towards financial inclusion. Again, this is based on your current affairs knowledge only. So if you see question 1 and question 3 in 10 markers, they are based in finance. They are based on your current affairs knowledge only. I will discuss the probable answers. Meanwhile, I am just discussing the overall background of that particular question. Now I am coming to 15 marker questions. Question 4, in the contribution, what is the contribution of Henry Fayol in the field of management? Henry Fayol is the father of administrative management, right? And this thing we have discussed in the live classes as well. And this thing is discussed in your course as well. Also explain 14 principles of management given by him. Now this is a tough question according to me. Why? Because you have to remember each and every principle of Henry Fayol in the field of management. So this becomes tough, but again, those who are coming from those who are coming from commerce or management, and those who remember all the 14 principles, for them this question is easy, or I would say moderate only. Okay. Question number, now this is a static question directly taken from your management. Question number 5, discuss the Big Five personality model. Now, Big Five personality model and these two questions, that is question number 4 and 5, they have been asked directly from your static syllabus of management. Okay, so static syllabus of management is very, very important, although it is theoretical, but you have to remember each and everything. Discuss Big Five personality model can be traced to your chapter personality and perception. Ocean model, we have seen one question in your, I would say, objective component as well, and now I'm seeing one model question over here at Big Five personality as well. Okay, descriptive as well. Question number 6, briefly explain retail direct scheme of Reserve Bank of India. Again, this is a CA question, that is current affairs related question asked from finance. So if you see and if you analyze in descriptive section, in finance or finance section, all the 3 questions of finance are related to current affairs. Open network for digital commerce, pre-sanctioned UPI lines, and this retail direct scheme, all are related to your current affairs. So current affairs becomes your important hold. You have to understand that how you are writing, how you are understanding that particular current affair. Okay. So this is the question. Now again, this particular document is already uploaded in your course. You can see it. This is the answer key. You can see the answers over here. You can check your answers, and here is the explanation. Okay. So if you want to see the explanation, you can do it by yourself, and these are the screenshot which we have attached. But the entire paper, if I leave that bill of exchange wala question, the entire paper is covered in EduTap course in a best manner. For example, basis of power, what are positional and what are personal power as well. Okay. Now this is the subsection of descriptive writing. Now, what is open network for digital commerce? You first have to define what is open network for digital commerce. What are the major factors, objectives, sorry, of open network for digital commerce? Where it is coming from? What are the advantages? How it will beat Amazon thing, and so on and so forth. So this question again, I would say, is a moderate level question because you need to understand that what is the current happening regarding ONDC. But again, you could have done it if you have the good control over current affairs. Okay. Question number 2, code of conduct. This I have already discussed, taken from your chapter ethics. Now, what is code of conduct? First, you have to define it. What is the purpose and significance of it? How it will be implemented, because implemented in the organization has been asked. So this becomes the main part of your body, right? So you have to give different points. Now, I'm not reading this particular thing because it will make the class look very mundane. All you need to do is just do some self-analysis and see and refer to the document of descriptive model question and answer. Okay, then you have to give a good looking conclusion as well. But this code of conduct and what is the difference between code of ethics, you could have also mentioned that, but in a very brief manner, because that is not required over here, right? So this is regarding question number 2. Now I'm coming to question number 3. RBI has allowed pre-sanctioned credit lines via UPI. How it is a step forward toward financial inclusion. So how RBI has introduced pre-sanctioned credit lines via UPI. Again, this was tackled by Kritika ma'am in her CA classes, that is related to RBI in news and finance in news, right? So those are like must watch. Again, you have to give a kind of a background that what Reserve Bank of India is trying to do, what financial inclusion is all about, how this initiative of Reserve Bank of India will increase financial inclusion. Also, please remember that try to give your answer in points. Once you are using points, it is very easy for the examiner to check your answers. Now, this is the way you have to represent your answers, right? Reducing dependence on informal credit channels, because definitely if something is sanctioned from RBI only, or from payment aggregators, it will be in a competition to the informal channels, right? Then you have to give a well structured conclusion as well. And now when it comes to the 15 markers, we have what is the contribution of Henry Fayol. So now contribution, say we mean the principles only. So you have to remember the administrative management theory, how it has been introduced by your Henry Fayol. What is the overall, I would say again, This is a very basic question. You could have easily said that Henry Fayol is the father of administrative management. He has given some 14 principles of management. You have to list them one by one. Okay, now do not go deep in each and every principle. You just have to use the approach of touch and go. You just go over, you just touch that particular concept, and you have to move ahead in a very fast manner. Because if you go on explaining each and every point, then definitely your word limit will come into an issue. Again, give proper conclusion to it. Discuss Big Five personality model. This was also discussed in your, I would say, FLTs, which we have provided. The same question. Okay, so again, openness example, consciousness example, extraversion example, agreeableness example, neuroticism example. This is the way which is a model answer which has been given to you. But remember, first you have to define personality, then come to the ocean model. It should not be like that you are starting with the ocean model directly. First, have the courtesy to define what is personality. Okay. Last question talks regarding your retail direct scheme. Now, again, retail direct scheme, integrated ombudsman scheme. I hope you remember they were introduced by RBI to bring certain revolution in the Indian banking industry. Again, if you remember the date, it is good. If you don't remember it, do not write it. You can just say that it was introduced in the year 2021. Then you have to go deep into the retail direct scheme. You will have to mention each and every point related to it. Like you can mention the reasons, the features, and you can also mention the criteria. But I would say give less importance to criteria. You could have explained more features, and you could have also explained the reasons that why RBI is bringing it. Okay? Now this is the end of the paper.
So I hope the video was helpful for you. You were able to understand the trend and pattern with respect to RBI Grade B exam and what were those key areas from where the questions were framed for the year 2023. Fine, with respect to FM paper. And I hope you were also able to see that what was the difficulty level of the questions. These are the things that you were supposed to analyze as a part of this session. Now moving on to the last part, which is basically how EduTap can help you with respect to your preparation for the RBI Grade B exam. So over here, what you have to do, you have to go to a website which is edutap.in. So in the courses section, you have to open RBI Grade B courses, and under it you will find the different type of courses that we offer. So first of all, we have the gold course. Under the gold course, we will be providing the live classes. We will be providing the concept classes also, fine, which are detailed, comprehensive classes. We start from the scratch in all these classes, and you will be able to get a clarity. Fine, all the components of the course have been structured in a detailed manner. Apart from that, we will provide you concept notes and the summary sheets also. Concept notes are the detailed notes that are on the basis of this concept classes only, and summary sheets, I would say, are the condensed version of this concept notes. Fine, so that you can basically revise in an efficient manner. Then as a part of each and every component and each and every chapter, we are providing you the mock tests also and the free interview guidance too. Fine, so this is something that we are going to help you with. And let us say you are somebody who is comfortable with phase 1, that is QRE and general awareness. So what you can do, you can avoid gold course and you can go for silver course only, which is cheaper. It will help you to save money. Apart from that, it will include the content with respect to the phase 2 as well as the interview. Fine, and apart from that, if you want to go any kind of test series, so we have a separate course with respect to that too. And currently we have this discount running on our website of 70%. So you just have to put this code EduTap. The discount is for limited period and you will be able to get a good discount. Fine, and that is the idea. Now in order to have, I would say, understanding regarding that how does the content looks like, so we have this demo lectures for you, the demo material. So you can just click over this link and you can see that how the classes are conducted and how the concept notes looks like. Fine, also sort of things are there. So just let me open it for you so you can have a good understanding if you do it yourself by opening the website, and it is going to help you to know that whether this course could be beneficial for you or not. So I hope it is clear to everyone. So thank you so much and all the best, and if you want us to make videos on other topics, you can let us know in the comment box. So thank you so much and all the best.